Hi, my name is Lillian. I'm 58 years old and have experienced 34 years of covert domestic violence, otherwise known as narcissistic abuse. But I'm not just a survivor. I am more than a conqueror in Christ Jesus. If this is your first time, thanks for stopping in. And to get a wider scope of what I talk about here, you can look in the description box. There's a link that says why I'm here. If you're returning, I'm sorry you're walking through this, but I'm glad you found your way here. And you know, I'll always remind you to listen to my content with that one question in the back of your mind. Is my marriage difficult, or am I married to a dangerous man? That's the motivation for this channel, what my marriage was like and how I woke up to the truth that my husband wasn't a difficult, clueless guy when it came to relationships. No, he knew a lot, actually, and that's what makes him such a dangerous man. If you're starting to wake up and think that this might be your reality, please be gentle on yourself. You're about to step on a rough ride of truth, a darkness you've never experienced, but just know that you're not alone. I'm here for you. I hope this channel will be a source of awakening, validation, healing, and will show you how God uses a righteous divorce to free you from bondage of narcissistic abuse in your marriage. Like I always say at the beginning of every talk that I share, as you're listening, if you start to feel overwhelmed or like your reality is disappearing, or you start to experience sensations in your body like the ground is falling out from underneath you or the walls are closing in, that means you're being triggered. Your memory has activated your sympathetic nervous system because it's trying to show you something. It's trying to tell you that what you've just heard is resonating with something inside your cells, your nervous system. Please pause the video and pray and ground yourself. The verses I find particularly helpful are 2 Timothy 1:7 and Psalm 40 verses 1 through 3, Psalm 139 verses 5 through 6, and Psalm 140 verses 7 through 8. If you're unfamiliar with the technique of grounding, there's 2 links in the description box that will explain how you can bring yourself back to the present moment instead of slipping deeper and deeper into the overwhelming emotions that you're experiencing, and hopefully stop you from slipping into a panic attack. Don't be worried about grounding, that it's some type of woo-woo voodoo thing. It's just a matter of working within the parameters of the way God has created your body to work. Grounding is simply when your nervous system moves from a sympathetic to the parasympathetic. Today I'm going to talk about some things that you and I probably have in common if you're married to a dangerous man like I was. If you're coming back to my channel, I know who you are. Well, I don't know you personally, but there's a few things that I can guess about you to a pretty high accuracy. You're probably a born-again Christian wife that believes in the sanctity of marriage. You're more than likely high on the scale of empathy, which makes you an HSP or an empath. And depending on which circles you travel in, HSP is used in the psychological and science spheres, whereas the term empath is used in the law of attraction and universe sphere. I use them interchangeably because I don't care what title you give it. God gave me the mirror neurons that are extra active when He created me. So I think it's really cool that we can actually see them now when we look at brain scans. I think they're called fMRIs. Plus, it's also backed by loads of research. There's about 20% of us in every culture, and I think that's pretty neat. The not so neat part is that if you're married to a dangerous man, it means that you're an unhealed HSP. And that's how the predator that now has you in his grip was able to target you. I know you're having trouble accepting what your body is telling you about your husband. Your head tells you one thing and your heart tells you another. Things don't add up to love. things are amiss inside of you. Your eyes and ears see and hear one message, and your body feels the opposite message. Inside yourself, you feel a sensation of confusion and crookedness and nausea, horrible emotional discomfort. This is called cognitive dissonance. In order to stop experiencing the overwhelming sensation of the dissonance inside your body that is caused from two opposite messages, what a victim does is lean into the head message by denying her true feelings. It doesn't matter how far-fetched the lie is that you know is happening, because you can feel it. You will still lean into it because you know that if you don't, or if you question the lie at all, you'll receive rage and gaslighting. In my case, he had taken me off of all of our banking information and wouldn't let me talk about it or be a part of it. But the whole time, he was insisting that I was half of it. Now, this is a key for you, sister. My husband's behavior didn't match the words he wanted me to believe. So, after he redirected all of the banking information to an account in his name only, for the next 10 years, I watched the spending go crazy. All the while, he was telling me that he was saving for a down payment for a house and that there was a rainy day savings account as well. Well, in the beginning, he said that. But then after about a year, if I asked anything about how much was in the rainy day account or how much was saved for the down payment, or if I questioned any purchase, he would rage on me, bait me into a fight, call me names, and gaslight me. Or he would say how awful it was that his own wife, like this is called playing the victim, he would say how awful it was because his own wife didn't believe in his integrity. The same time, he was not sharing information or any of the money, by the way. At the same time, he still insisted that I was half of all of the financial decisions. This is the toxic blend of emotional violence and financial abuse that was perpetrated against me. And it's just one of, this is not the only one, this is just one small instance of it. I also know that you're the wife that reads the marriage books because you're trying to clear the fog of confusion between the two. If you really do want to love him, you want to have a good marriage. You're the wife that's the peacekeeper, not the peacemaker. I know you're the wife that doesn't want the divorce because you really believe you can make it work, even if you're the one doing all of the connection and all of the contributing to the marriage, and even if you die trying because you don't know what else to do. I also know you're very tired and at the end of your rope. Your heart and soul ache from the emotional desolation they've been living in. And you don't know what to do next because you can't see living the rest of your life in this kind of vacuum that's bereft of love and connection and so lonely. And yet you still don't know what else to do. I know that with every new method or book or blog or bit of information you find, you think, this is it. And everything changes. This will change everything. Maybe now we'll be able to fix our communication and your hope is restored. Yes, everything changes. And then nothing changes. You're back to square one, not alone, but completely isolated, forlorn, and lonesome in your own marriage. It feels like truly a hamster wheel. I also know you're a very different kind of woman than when you came into the marriage. Financially, you were pretty secure, pretty stable, and confident to provide a living for yourself because you were already doing it. And you were probably pretty self-assured and independent. Your confidence and esteem was higher at the beginning of your marriage than it is right now. You don't feel independent as your own individuated person or any sense of interdependent partnership. Not anymore. Your relationship has been devalued and down-regulated to a series of exchanges of services accomplished through your respective roles, like he shovels the driveway and you sweep the floor. And you've been conditioned to think that you are living in an interdependent partnership, but you don't feel any connection that actually is required to make a relationship. So you've been pretending that there's a connection and that it's all good. That's that cognitive dissonance again. I know you don't feel built up as a woman. You do your best to build him up as a man, to be the best husband he can be, to be the best father, and to be the best at his career. I mean, that's respect, right? And the wife must submit in all things, Ephesians 5:24, and the wife must respect her husband, Ephesians 5:33. But you don't feel built up. You feel diminished down. You feel smaller and lesser, that you're becoming less and less and less of your own person as a woman. So instead, you've been capitalizing on the exchange of services part, becoming more and more of the role of a wife instead of a woman in a deep friendship and a loving relationship. I know you're lonely, but not alone. It messes with you. Your head knows there's a person in the room, you can see them, yet your heart feels no connection. Like you've been trying to hit a bullseye, but the target for connection keeps changing and moving, almost like it's hiding from you. You want to connect with him, yet you feel alone and lonely. Your head and heart are not receiving congruent messages, and it makes you feel crazy. Sound crazy if you talk about it. I know I sound crazy even talking to you about it right now. But I know I'm not, because I know what I've experienced and I know the truth now. I know you feel like giving up, but you're not even sure what giving up looks like. The reason you feel this way is because it's truth. You're feeling the truth. Think about that for a second. Your body is not lying to you. It's you that's been lying to her. You've been trying to convince her of a different truth than what she feels in her experience. I know I did this for years, way too long. The truth is you are alone, mostly, because the church has abandoned you in your desolation and helplessness. It's not intentional. They just aren't teaching us sisters the right things. So it's truth that we get from Christians, it's just incomplete. It's the masculine part of the truth, not as a woman needs to hear it. Truth coming through a masculine voice is not going to land in the heart of a woman. There needs to be both in order for it to be the real and complete whole truth. Men and women are different. Everyone knows that. God did it that way from the very beginning. He created the male and female. A woman is a different species than a man. We're not a female version of a man. I've heard it said that a lot of confusion comes from people thinking that women are just hairless, weaker versions of men. We are not only unique in our creation, but we're the complete and utter opposite of the male species. We hear and see and feel differently. To be in relationship, a woman was created to need the polar opposite of what a man needs. And I don't mean for this to sound harsh, because the older women ahead of me I'm talking about, but I'm also talking about me. Older women, we've dropped the baton and Satan has picked it up. We were supposed to teach the younger wives how to love and live and move in friendship and relationship with their husbands, because it's a lot different than being in female friendships. Instead, What they've done is taught us like a man teaching a man, and made it all about serving in submission and obedience to rules. Serving in obedience has no capacity for a relationship with a female. It's time we older women stepped up and started to teach the younger wives about relationships with their male counterparts. Okay, sorry for the little rant there. You know what else I know about you? I know you want to stay married, but whenever you ask for help to make that happen, it gets twisted around somehow. Some way, the problem is always a lack of submission or a lack of obedience or a lack of something on your side. The wife is the one that causes the problems in the marriage. Most of the teaching we get, not all, but most, send you back home into the marriage without the help you need. It sends you back to the very person that you needed the help with, and in some cases, the protection from. And when you do get the courage to talk to someone together, the things you say sound ludicrous. It sounds like you're lying and your husband fakes shame because he knows you're telling the truth. But his big fake of shame is to make it look like he's ashamed for you. He twists and tweaks the truth, just a bit here and just a bit there. And he shakes his head like you're some pathetic wife that's so messed up that he has to tolerate you. And then the pastor looked at me like I'm lying or exaggerating. You know that incredulous look when people can't fathom what you're saying because it sounds like you're losing your grip on reality. And then they say something super helpful like, you know, Lillian, all marriages go through hard times, right? Inside, you're emotionally beaten up and abused heart and mind. You think to yourself, I'm not talking about hard or difficult times. I'm talking about being afraid of danger in my own marriage. But you don't share it because you've basically already been shut down. There's lots and lots more talking, but generally it all boils down to a few practical religious actions. Be a better and more patient and excellent wife, and he'll come around. We can't change other people. God will do it. Pray more. Be a better functioning wife. Be a better communicator. Yeah, more masculine teaching about my role as a wife, but nothing about relationships or the soul or the heart. You know what? They do not have a solution for you. Not if you're married to a dangerous man. I want to fess up. You know, in my introduction video, I say that I'm going to be honest and vulnerable, and part of this is my error to correct. Well, I'm 100% responsible for my part in the error to correct. I followed the misogynistic and unwise knowledge of conventional Christian teaching instead of listening to what the Holy Spirit had been showing me. Honestly, it was easier. Well, at the time it seemed easier. I live with the fact that I spent far too long in hidden domestic abuse because I thought that every marriage has its difficulties and problems, and this was our particular toxic blend to deal with. I was wrong. I was wrong to believe what I believed about marriage, headship, submission, and the roles of husbands and wives. It was those very beliefs that made it possible for so much psychological and emotional violence towards me to happen. Let me say it again. I was completely wrong. And part of me telling you is that I need for you to know that I'm taking responsibility for that. I chose what to believe. But now I get it. After living for 34 years, I can really see the difference between a difficult husband and a dangerous man. And I can honestly say there is complete truth in Romans 8:28. I already knew the Bible was God's infallible word, but now I can say like Job said, I know you differently now. much deeper and better. I didn't think I could know him more than I did, but I do. And that's how I know I can bring you the truth, so that you will also see. God doesn't want you to think you have to stay bound to a dangerous man, but he wants you to let him separate that dangerous man away from you. And he will. He'll preserve you through a righteous divorce from a dangerous, deadly man. Closing thoughts. First, shh. Don't say a word about this to him. Discovering that your husband's dangerous is a scary place to end up. It's never where you thought you'd be, and it feels like an unreality. But your silence about your awareness of what he really is, that's your safety zone. And always remember, a clueless guy that causes dysfunction and seems difficult, he's not dangerous. But the malignant man is not clueless. He just pretends to be difficult and dysfunctional so that he can hide how dangerous he is.